Hey everyone, I know 2 videos in a week, it's kind of a huge deal. Before I started getting on to like just regular vlogs, I did want to just do a quick Q&A video. There's been a lot of questions that I haven't yet answered, and so I just wanted to do a quick video to answer those questions. And if you have follow-up questions with those, just leave a comment below and I will respond to you there. The first question that I wanted to answer was, what's it like raising kids with MS? And this is a kind of a tricky one because the thing with MS is it can be so different for everyone, and that's what's hard about all of this. My experience might be 100 times different than the next person's, and I'm sure a lot of people are aware of that. So I will tell you what it's like for me from my experience. And my MS so far, I've only been diagnosed for almost 3 years now, and it's been pretty mild. And so for me, raising kids with MS, I don't really know any different because raising kids is hard. And so it's not like the only challenges that I've had. For me, the biggest challenge that I had was actually when I was being diagnosed with MS and my kids. When I was diagnosed, I actually part of being diagnosed, most people have to get a spinal tap, and I did get a spinal tap, and unfortunately I ended up getting a spinal headache from the spinal tap, and that's where the spot where they enter your spine doesn't heal properly, I guess, and so the spinal fluid has a slow leak, and when that happens, the pressure on your head doesn't regulate, and so if I wasn't laying completely flat, I had the most intense headache. It was just extreme pressure, like my head was going to implode. And so, first of all, getting a spinal tap, you're supposed to lay flat for 24 hours, which I did that, but having to do that and also have kids is really tricky. So I did that, and then I ended up with a spinal headache, which I ended up having to go and get a blood patch where they patch it up, and that is supposed to fix it. With mine didn't work. It did work, but it took a little more than a day for it to start working. So I was flat on my back for a week straight, which was just so hard for me just without kids, because first of all, it's really uncomfortable, but second of all, with kids, I could hear my kids and I couldn't get up and help them. I couldn't do those things. So I believe it's so important to have a strong support system with you, especially even if you don't have MS. When you have kids, you need support from people around you. So I am lucky enough to be surrounded by a lot of great people in my life. I have lots of neighbors and friends and community that are very supportive, and then I have family that is extremely supportive. And so during that time, I had meals brought in from my family. My husband was able to take some time off work. I had family help watch my kids. So everyone kind of rallied together and helped during that time. So that was the hardest thing that I've experienced with MS and raising kids. Now, as far as like a day-to-day, I think, like I said, just raising kids without anything is difficult sometimes, and I think you just have to realize that you're not perfect and that you're going to make mistakes, and to be patient. And so knowing that you're just doing the best you can with whatever situation that you're in is what is important. And so anyway, hopefully that answers your question. I have explained to my kids I have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So my older girls do know that I have MS, and they understand what it is and how it works. And I try to really assure them that I'm good and that I'm taking care of myself, and I try and include them in the process. I don't want them to worry, and I don't want them to stress about these things, but I want them to understand. And so I've kind of included them, and they know when I have to go to the doctor or do different things, that what's going on. And anyway, so I strongly recommend trying to, find a good support system, regardless if you have MS or not, is always a good idea when you're raising your kids. The second question that I have is, how supportive is your spouse? When I was first diagnosed, or being diagnosed, or trying to figure out what was going on, my husband said, we got this. No matter what happens, we got this. We'll do whatever it takes. So the answer to that is that my husband is extremely supportive. I really lucked out in that department. He really, truly wants me to take care of myself and do whatever we need to do to, make me as healthy as possible. And if things aren't going good, he's there. He's got my back. And if I need him to come with me to an appointment or anything like that, he is there. And he's definitely been there emotionally and just helped me through harder things. And so, yes, my husband is extremely supportive, and I think that is a huge deal. Which I think goes along with the next question, is how do you stay positive? Again, all these things, having a good support system, I think, is the key. And also knowing, like I said, that, things can change and every day can be different, but just trying your best and doing the best that you can. And it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to, I think everyone goes through those times where you're just kind of in a funk and kind of feeling blue. And I think that's okay. I think if it lasts and you can't get out of it, then you need to talk to a doctor. You need to get some help. But I think just trying your best each day, and I think staying positive for me individually, I do well if I have a routine, if I get up, if I get ready for the day, if I have a plan for the day, if I just am staying productive, then I am way more positive. If I am just kind of doing whatever, then it's harder for me to feel positive. So that's how I manage. The next question is, what medication are you taking? I just did a video kind of going over this, but just real quick, I am currently taking Aubagio, and I also do B12 injections once a month, and I'm taking vitamin D, and I also take a fish oil of some type. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, so I take vitamins, and I also take Aubagio, is my MS medication. And so far that's been good. I've only been on Aubagio for about a month now. I do have to go get my blood tested to check my liver, because it can cause liver damage. So I'll let you know on that. I have in the past taken Copaxone, and that was fine for me too. But where I'm done having kids and I don't have to worry about that, Aubagio is just a little bit easier because it's just a pill, and I was a good candidate for that. So that's where I'm at on the medication. The financial side of MS. So this one's another tricky one because it's, I'm sure, different for everyone. A lot of the drug companies, I know, they want you to use their medication, obviously, and so they have programs where they will pay your copay depending on what kind of insurance you have. Most of the time, I believe, if you have commercial insurance, which I do through my husband's work, then you can qualify for a copay assistance, and they just pay your copay. So for me, I don't have to pay anything for my MS medication. I do pay it's like $15 for my B12 injections and then my vitamins. But and then as far as the the expensive part for me is getting my MRIs and stuff like that. And what I have done is we set up this is, what has been available for me is through my husband's work, we can set up a flex spending plan, and we put money into that, and I kind of anticipate what, things I might have to do for that year, and then we can pay it through that, if you're familiar with how a flex spending plan works. But like this last year, I had to get my MRIs, and it's expensive. Without insurance, it was like, I think $10,000 for my MRIs. So it can add up really quickly. So thankfully I have good insurance, and I have options available for me to pay that. That's been the biggest financial thing for me. Like I said, the medication hasn't been a problem. Going to the doctor, I do have to pay, since it's a specialist, every time I go I have to pay $50, which kind of stinks, but what do you do? It could be worse. Anyway, so I know I'm fortunate in that I haven't really felt a financial burden, but I know that it can be really, really hard on people, and it's a hard situation, because the people that need it the most are the people that are being targeted the most. So I don't know. MS medication is ridiculously expensive. It's like $60,000 a year for most MS medications. And so it's impossible if you don't have insurance. Anyway. Let's see. My emotional state from day to day. This kind of goes along with being positive. I have good days and I have bad days, just like everybody else. I don't know that it has anything to do with MS. But some days I feel great and life's good, and other days are just hard. And I also think that it has to do with this time of your life that you're in. Like for me, I have 4 young kids, and so it's very busy in that they rely on me for a lot, and they're at different ages too. And so, for instance, my 4-year-old is kind of in an emotional state right now, and it can wear on you. Anyway, so it's just a day-to-day thing. I would say for the most part, my emotional state is good. I like I said, I do have those times where I kind of just feel like I'm in a funk, and it's hard to get out of. But I always tell myself, if this lasts more than 2 weeks, then I think it's time to go talk to a doctor. But I always include my husband in that conversation, and I say, hey, I'm really struggling right now, and we kind of work through it with each other and support each other, because everyone has that, and having someone to kind of help you get through that, I think, helps. But overall, I'd say my emotional state is good. I think that's it. There were some other questions. I think I'll do a separate video for those. But like I said, if you have any more questions, just let me know and I'd be happy to answer them. I know a lot of people have questions regarding having kids and getting pregnant and medication and all of that with MS, because that's a big deal. And so I've done a couple videos regarding that and what my situation is. And so just keep in mind, everyone's different and everyone's situation is different. But I'm happy to share with you my story and my situation. And anyway, if you have any more questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.